Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. And it's been a few weeks since I've done this live, so chaos will ensue. Plus, we have Richard in the questions, so more chaos, I'm sure, will ensue. Will take place. Anyways, thank you, Richard. Thank you. Let's see here. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. We have RC Scott. We have the Writing Sisters. I believe that's author Lauren Adele's new channel. And we have questions. Oh boy. Well, before I get on topic, let's start off topic. Richard posed the question of where's the best place to find a family? Is there like a pound where you can go and pick one out at? I'm ignoring that one. Let's see. We have, is Taco Bell an authentic Mexican place? We were talking about Taco Bell pre-chat or pre-live. And no, Taco Bell is in no way authentic, although I'm going to repeat the same joke here, same quote, whatever, that Taco Bell won the franchise war, so now every restaurant is a Taco Bell. Da-dunch. No, anyone? Crappy 90s movie. All right, anyways, let's see here. And Richard wants to know how to pronounce Chipotle. It's pronounced Chipotle. And I believe we're all caught up, except for the fact that Richard is on holiday today. So I hope you enjoyed your day off as you are starting your Monday on a Tuesday. Who likes found families and stories? I love this trope. In a lot of ways, I live this trope. I have an extremely supportive family and extended family, but I also have a bunch of really close friends who I consider to be family. In fact, I'm already going to start off on a tangent because something came up this afternoon where I received a not safe for work message on a group chat because some friends were disappointed that I wasn't there hanging out with them this past weekend. So I am ever reminded that I am a part of a very large and wildly inappropriate group of found family friends. Anyways, those friends are the ones that in general I drop my plans of doing nothing to hang out with. This past weekend, I was busy. I was helping take care of family. But normally, if I have nothing going on, that might not sound like much. But to me, that is extremely meaningful. A night by myself, reading or writing and playing games, doing whatever are fairly rare for me. Especially when I know I can get a full night's rest afterwards. Those are rare commodities. And no, they weren't my Age of Empires friends. They were my college friends. So, even though we've all grown up, we have in no way matured. I'll just leave it at that. And those quiet moments are priceless to me. So it means a lot for me to give up a night by myself, doing whatever, like Richard said, playing Age of Empires, playing Tears of the Kingdom, writing. I'm almost done with another round of my third manuscript. And most importantly, getting a full night's rest. It means a lot to give up on that of a night, which sounds like on the surface, a night of nothing, to hang out with my friends. So whether it's going to a sports ball game where I don't get home until 3 a.m. on a Monday night. Long story short, my friend had some great tickets, and so we went up to Baltimore to see the Ravens play. Unfortunately, we parked too close to the stadium, and it took an hour and a half of everybody leaving the stadium for us to get out of the garage. And so the game ended at 1 o'clock. I want to say it might have been closer to midnight, whatever. Either way, the game ended very late. We didn't get out of the garage until 2 a.m. and I got home at 3 a.m. So that was miserable. Tuesday at work was really rough, and we won't be parking close to the Ravens Stadium the next time we do that. But I had a wonderful night, even though I think the Ravens lost that night. Maybe that was the only game they won for the next few games. Either way, I had a lot of fun hanging out with one of my best friends, and even though the next couple of days were miserable for me in terms of physical exhaustion, I would not have given up that night for anything. Now, my book Falling Through is all about found families. There are characters who experience life-sharing events together and can't help but grow stronger because of them. In fact, while book one is falling through is largely the forming of certain found families. Book two is largely the shattering of them. And then book three is kind of picking up the pieces with what remains. So, slight spoilers there, but found families do play a major role in the stories I write, even outside of these books. You know, some stuff that will never see the light of day, some of my ideas that I'm working with, all sort of cycle and circle around found families in some way. In fact, I took points from my real life where some of the characters' parents were buying food for the characters within the story because that character was over their house so often. I think it was Derek's parents buying Tracy the food that she likes at the grocery store. And fun fact, that is taken from real life. There's the thumbnail that included a pizza, a slice of pizza, and a slice of cake, or a whole cake, actually. And the reason I did that is because I had a friend whose house I was at. So there was a really close friend, and then he had an older sister who was away at college, and then she was back for the summer. And her parents asked, or their parents asked me what I wanted for the toppings on the pizza because we did the math, and I was over their house more often than their daughter was. So I was friends with the son. Daughter was off at college, but she came back and she was doing an internship or whatever, and I was over their house more than their own child. Also, yeah, my wife is saying that her parents buy cookies specifically for me. Yes, that's true, but I mean, that's not really found family because I'm a part of your family. I mean, that's my in-laws who are buying me things I like. So it's not quite the same, but I do greatly appreciate your parents buying cookies just for me as I inhale them boxes at a time. And that specific story of pizza and buying the groceries for specific characters who aren't necessarily in the family, that's something that I baked into my stories. So, all that to say, here are 5 ways that I've written found families into my stories, or the dominoes that led to my favorite moments in the stories I've read. Usually, that do involve found families. Okay, I would make a caveat to that. Sorry, Adriana is commenting here. Yes, you're right. You are found family. I don't know. I don't feel so. There's like there's siblings. Obviously, the family that you're born with, they are certainly family. I wouldn't consider like my brothers to be found family. I wouldn't necessarily consider my wife to be found family. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Obviously, yes, we found each other and now we are family. So I can see how that would work. But like, I don't know. Consider more to be, I just consider the definition of found family to be more of friends who are just really, really close and they're like family. So, my wife obviously knows some of the people I'm talking about. Of course, I can see her point in that, yes, you find someone, you marry them, and then they become your family. So, sure. By her definition, yes, we are found family. And hey, what's up, JR? Jonathan, thank you for joining. Not this weekend, but next weekend, I will be doing your Bibbidi Bobbidi Boop tag. So you have that to look forward to. Slight spoiler for next week. Now, back to the topic because I have gone on yet another tangent. Number one, the first tip to writing found families is to make it complicated. The characters won't always agree. In fact, they shouldn't agree most of the time. Even when they know a certain way is the right thing to do, the other characters should try to think of a better way to get something done. For example, if they're cleaning up trash and maybe one character wants to use magic to speed up the process in this hypothetical fantasy story, which is in no way related to or based on a side story of one of mine. Anyways, so on the one hand, they can speed up the process using magic to clean up trash, get it all organized, whatever. But they debate doing that because it might expose them. So tasks and arriving at destinations on time will inherently take longer because certain found family members get involved. Seemingly simple tasks are made more complicated when family members, and especially found family members, have to do them together. So with found families, making side trips, detours, and delays are inevitabilities. Now, this is not necessarily found family. This is with my actual family, but even hypothetically, something like getting a glass of water for your aunt can devolve into a game of who can punch the other person the hardest, or so I'm told. Because clearly, I wouldn't, wrestle my brother in the middle of my aunt's kitchen while my grandmother's standing off to the side. Anyways, sorry, the chat is having a discussion on food and what we're doing for dinner. Number two, ramp up the drama. Build in drama from the start. There's a large theme in my books where the bonds of family are strained because the main characters get superpowers, and not everyone handles that fact in a healthy way. Some relationships are improved and strengthened, particularly in the start. You have a group of friends where Derek sees that his friends are all going off to college and everybody's going their separate ways, and he's trying to cling to them all. And in that way, he lets them in on a secret that he might not have otherwise done so, the fact that he has powers. And then others fall apart entirely because as some of his friends start to realize the choices that the characters are making, they don't agree with them, and it comes to a physical fist fight. Emotions will run rampant with found families or with people in general who know each other so intimately. And people will make entirely wrong assumptions about each other because they have so many years of shared history to draw from. They think they know how a person's going to react. And drama naturally flows from those deep, deep relationships where the slightest thing can set people off. And that leads me right into number three, history. Found families take years to form. That means these characters know incredibly specific details about each other's lives. They know how a character will react before that character has even considered the problem. They speak in codes no one else understands. To an outsider, it would seem like a new language, like speaking in nothing but movie references, which my wife and I have done, and my brother thinks is really weird. Or in Ted Lasso. It was Ted Lasso where Coach Beard was speaking to his girlfriend, I guess, in chess position moves, or they were having a conversation while they were playing a mental game of chess. And if anyone remembers the movie Hackers, there was a floppy disk hidden. Sorry, what's the phrase? The phrase is the floppy disk is hidden in the place where I put that thing that one time. Now, ignoring the fact that the movie is stuck solidly in the 90s and has a woeful understanding of computers, that moment made otherwise unbelievable events feel real. Yeah, Hackers and Jurassic Park have something in common in that they just do not understand how the inside of a computer or how the operating system of a computer works, because that was not a Linux system used to control the Jurassic Park. And the mainframe of a database in cyberspace doesn't actually look like an apartment complex from Hackers. And that's my other tangent. But back to found families. The friends know the exact buttons to push to tear a person down or raise them up. Showing how the character uses years of blackmail material demonstrates a lot about both characters. I mean, both in what one character will hold over another person and what they'll use that information to gain. So, yeah, I've had a couple of friends who know a lot of dirt about me, and I know for a fact that they would not throw it in my face unless I'm being completely obnoxious and they need to just rein me in. So I would say that I have healthy found family relationships and that we would never use our dirt against each other to hurt one another. Rather, we would use it to kind of knock some sense into each other lightly. Number four, keep it platonic. I know the tendency would be to make characters who know so much about each other and who are constantly surrounded by each other romantically involved. I would recommend strongly steering clear of that well-tread road. bring someone else into the mix if you want to add in some romance with some nice spice. But found families feel forced in romantic moments. It works in X-Men because after so many years, everyone has hooked up with every other possible combination. And my understanding is that modern X-Men on Krakoa is basically a polyamorous paradise among every possible character. No judgment, but again, my understanding is that most of that happens off page, and a lot of it is wish fulfillment by specific fans who are tying the slightest smile or the slightest nod or the slightest phrase to mean that certain characters have hooked up when that is not the author's intent. But some of them are explicit, and there is a lot of subtext within the X-Men series. I know that going way back with like Kitty Pride and Magic, how they how they had to use codes because they couldn't really do certain things with the LGBTQ community. Anyways, I'm not saying that, but sorry, that's not the point that I'm trying to make right here. My point is that a lot of the things going on in Krakoa are off page and maybe hinted at, maybe not, but I guarantee you a lot of it is more wish fulfillment than actual intention. So readers will often create their own head canons, but I don't think that found family members work well. I've watched quite a few friend groups that felt like found families actually fracture when people started kind of branching off together and hooking up. And yeah, even when you try and choose sides, there's always losing and kind of everybody sort of branches off. And now instead of like a big group, now there might be like pairs. So to explicitly write those moments of romance removes any real sexual tension and ultimately will be disappointment because to read or otherwise feel like character assassination when putting those characters together in our stories. I mean, Bones and Castle and like all of these sitcoms, it kind of works on sitcoms because after a while you just assume that things are going to happen, say after, season 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, or it feels like they were kind of building up to it, but not really. Whereas in a story, there is much less story than, say, seasons upon seasons where you can build those tiny moments in. And so I would recommend not doing that because I always feel like those moments are forced. That's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to write those romance stories in, and I will happily read them. Those are just my opinions, and I personally will try not to write found family moments where characters are romantically involved. In fact, within my stories, I'm trying to slowly build in certain romances, and so I'm exclusively trying to not include certain pairs ending up together. Oh boy, lots of X-Men combos. Yeah, I guess you could say the Lannisters in there, except that they are actually family who is closer than family should be. And the less I talk about Game of Thrones, the better. Now, lastly, number 5. Above all else, found families need to be reliable. So make found families rely on each other above everything else. When every other plan fails and the characters are at their lowest possible moments, the found family group is what brings them back up. They collectively lift each other and they find the means to dig deep and keep fighting whatever struggle that they're facing. Now, there's an old phrase that I paraphrase in Falling Through. It goes, "A good friend will post your bail, but a true friend will be right there in the cell behind you, right there in the cell beside you." And what I mean by that, there's also another one about like grabbing a shovel, or we can go. What I mean by this one specifically is a good friend will post your bail, while a true friend will be right there in the cell next to you, meaning that it's nice to have somebody post your bail if you do ever get arrested. Luckily, I haven't had that experience, but it's even better. I have not been arrested, but it's even better to have a friend alongside you to know that you were doing the exact same stupid thing, assuming that's nothing too serious. We're talking like slight misdemeanors, maybe drunk in public, something stupid. We're obviously not talking about like murder or something worse. We're talking something lighthearted here. This is a joke. It's meant to be in good humor, not actually serious. But it's nice to have a friend who is also in there because you both were doing the same stupid thing together. There's also one about how, if you need a good friend, if you need to bury a body, you can always give me a call. Something like that. That's the old joke or whatever, or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact thing, but one of my friends used to have that. Used to use that line regularly, and she was pretty hilarious. So, when writing found families, make them rely on each other. Or if somebody new comes to the group and they throw the entire communication into disarray, the entire dynamic into disarray, ultimately the found family should unite against the new force if it is intentionally and intentionally malicious. And going back to not Walking Dead, going back to Game of Thrones, I know it's not found family, but there is a moment where it seems like two sisters will be turned against each other. And you can see the conniving character sort of weaving his web and just digging in and getting them to realize on the surface, it seems like the entire episode that they are about to betray, that the two sisters are about to betray each other because this person knows exactly what to say to set them off and to get them at each other's throats. But it turns out that the entire time they were smart enough to recognize what was going on and double cross that person because they were secretly working together. Sorry, spoilers for Game of Thrones, a show that's been ruined, a decade ago. Anyways, those are my tips to give depth to found families as we write them into our own stories. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write. You can find me on, I guess, Instagram or X or whatever they call it now. And I'm also on Facebook as Running to Write. All social media, really, although I'm not really active on a lot of those. I think I technically have a TikTok where I posted maybe one video. But let me know in those comments if you have any friends who are family and how you may write your own mischievous adventures into your next story. Don't forget to sign up for the Writing to Write monthly newsletter. My next newsletter will go out on the 3rd of September, and you get to get a recap of the end of my summer because it's been fun times. And oh boy, do I have some stories. But I will include my general musings, my pitfalls, and my lessons learned all in that newsletter. The link should be in the description below. If not, I will add it after this is over. And I will see you next time. Until then, bring life to our stories by giving weight to their relationships through my favorite trope, the found family. See you all next week.